Alex Glow with Hackster.io, and it is Fundum Friday, so I have a cool new campaign for y'all, which has 6 days left. And while we don't have one of those yet, I've got this old SODAQ board from the same people to show you some of the cool stuff that it can do. So, first up, the new board is amazing. It's got this Cellular IoT suite, and if you're not familiar with the SODAQ line of boards, the name comes from it being able to be powered by solar power, which I assume just means that it has some special regulators and stuff in there. But it also has a JST connector for a LiPo battery, and it also has a special, separate JST connector for hooking up a solar panel to it that it can then charge the battery from. And so this is great for putting sensors in weird remote places, especially so because this one is equipped with GPS, which is fantastic, and up to 3 different kinds of wireless connectivity, which is super cool. Check it out. So this is the sort of map of where it's going to be available for right now. That you can actually use the different types of communication, which is cool. They've got this NB narrowband IoT spectrum, they've got LTE-M networks, and they've got places marked that have both. They're using a U-Blocks board, very popular for working with cellular. So the new particle boards also use this. Which one is this? The Argon, Xenon, or Bourne? I think it's the Argon, I always forget. They've got 3 new boards. They all use these same U-Blocks chips. These U-Blocks communication modules are super popular and super stable and mature, and super fabulous. But they've got all this cool stuff built in that is detailed on the Kickstarter page, which is linked in the video description. It's got an Arduino form factor, so it's compatible with your favorite shields, and it also is compatible with the Arduino IDE, which we'll take a look at in just a second. They describe the different types of wireless modules that they're using in the Kickstarter video itself, which is fantastic. It's got a micro USB hookup. I'm using this old one that has a mini, USB mini, which is not as common. Micro USBs, your standard 5-volt phone charger thing, micro SIM card holder, solar panel connector, etc., etc. Accelerometer and magnetometer, accelerometer and magnetometer for position sensing, and also motion sensing. If you're using the accelerometer, that can detect acceleration in different axes, which means that not only do you get actual motion and acceleration, but you also get the constant acceleration downwards towards the Earth, which allows you to detect position, kind of. Microcontroller, it's a microchip chip, which is great. There's something else I wanted to... Oh yeah, the Grove connectors! So the older board has a ton of these, actually. They've trimmed that down a bit, but that's because, they've got all these other ones built in. So it's very sensor ready. They've even still left you a couple of those Grove connectors. Not quite as many as before, but honestly, this thing is built for sort of remote sensing applications, and so, you don't necessarily need all that. Plus you've got the GPS antenna connector there. The other cool thing about this is that they have 2 sizes of it. They've got a small one as well that includes almost all of the same things. And in fact, I think it is all of the same things. It just obviously isn't compatible with Arduino shields because, it's a different form factor. They've got a huge, wonderful breakdown of all the different perks and the different types of boards you can choose, what the different types of connectivity you can get are, and it's very well, you can choose exactly what you want. They even have a custom perk tier, rewards tier, that allows you to select, whatever combination of these boards you want, and then just pay them that amount. And then, they work it out with you. And then the other cool thing is that they want you to come to their office and set it up for the first time when you pick it up. I think it's in Switzerland, but they call it Install Fest. Super cool. Oh, I lied. The Netherlands. My bad. Someday I'll learn. And, yeah, these are the dates when you can just go and get it if you support them. And they'll help you set it up for the first time, which is super cool. Plus they've got all this, integration with the Arduino Foundation. So cool! Go check it. I'm not going to give you a rundown on all the different options because you can just go to the Kickstarter page. There are way too many options for me to cover. They are about halfway to their goal and they've got 6 days left. So if you want this to be a thing, which you should, go and get it now and go meet them in the Netherlands because that just sounds delightful. I would totally go there. In the meantime, what I have here in the studio is the SODAQ and Billy. I think that's how you say it, I'm not sure. But this is a much older version of the board, as you can tell by the USB Mini. And it's got a little plug-in for XB and other types of communication modules. It's got the same solar power and battery JST connectors. I think they even have 2 of them for solar, which is kind of cool. And then they have an on-off switch, which is weirdly something that you don't see much in boards. Like Adafruit's Gemma is really cool to me in that way because it's a wearable board and it's got an on-off switch. You wouldn't think that's a huge feature, but it totally is. And then they've got 12 Grove connector ports. If you're not familiar with Grove, this is a type of connector from Seed Studio, and they basically use it to make all kinds of different modules just totally plug and play and really easy to use with Arduino. In this case, I have used, like, you know, they sometimes come in these little green Ziploc bags, and they sometimes come in these awesome little candy things that make me want to eat them, but I haven't yet. So 10 points for self-control, please. And you just plug them into these ports. I've got this potentiometer plugged into an analog port and this LED plugged into a digital port, and I just I just smushed together a couple pieces of Arduino code so that I could, let's get this a little bit better centered. There we go. So that I can make this LED fade. Let's put you over here. Yeah, so super simple. You twist the knob, the thingy fades, and that's like so few lines of code. I'm using the map function in Arduino to scale this 0 to 1024 output from this potentiometer, also known as, I think they call it an analog angle sensor or something. What do they call it? Rotary angle sensor, which, you know, is a totally valid term for this as well. And yeah, it takes that 0 to 1024 value and maps it to 0 to 255 for the LED brightness value. And then you can write a 0 to 255 brightness value to your LED via analog write, which uses a PWM signal to tell it how long to be on and off for. That's totally a cool rabbit hole to go down if you're not familiar with how pulse width modulation works. But in the meantime, you can use these functions to do it like super duper quick, and I'll write a quick tutorial about how to do this. But this is, you know, the new one comes with 2 Grove connectors, which means you could totally just do this really easily, or you can hook up any other sensor and any other output and get that working really fast. Plus, I actually have this hooked up to the serial monitor. Let me see if I can pull that up for you too, because if you notice, like 2 of the lines of code in here are completely pointless. I mean, they're not necessary. Let's put it that way. But the serial begin and serial print line lines of code here are just giving me text feedback on what the position of the potentiometer is. And with the new cellular capability, you could easily just send that to an online data tracker or write it to your SD card or whatever. All of these are options besides, you know, giving a visual feedback. If you have a remote sensor network, you don't necessarily need to be giving a visual feedback or audio feedback, but you can log those values in the cloud. Super cool. Go support SODAQ. I think this is a super valuable, worthwhile project, partly because it's, you know, it's for solar power, it's for sustainability. I think that every type of sensor network that's in the field, it makes total sense for it to be running on solar or some other kind of renewable energy. Let's see if my window is drifted off center. It totally has, that's fine. But in the meantime, let's take a look. This is the SODAQ and Billy, the board that I'm working with right now, I'm telling you about. It's discontinued, so this is just an example, obviously. but it's super easy to install, and so I have no reason to believe that the new one will not be super easy to install. They have their own set of hardware profiles that you can easily install on Arduino. And then here also is the map function I was talking about, just in case you're curious. So once again, that is the Cellular IoT Suite by SODAQ on Kickstarter. You have 6 days to go. You have the link in the description to this video. You can do cool stuff like twiddling knobs and like reading accelerometer and GPS values and logging them over Cellular. It's so cool. Just go do it. All right, that's enough from me. Have a great Friday and a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you Monday.